What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 78 of the Gaming Duo podcast. I'm Kelvin, your host for this week, and I'm joined by co-host Robert Garcia and our special guest. He has a background in psychology. He used his knowledge to figure the effects of different personality types have on the way people play games. He developed a version of the 16 personality types that test gamers' personality. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome John Uke. How are you, John?
Hey, I'm well. Glad to be here. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing good.
Doing well. Thanks for coming by, man. Thank you for coming by. We appreciate it so much.
Excited to be here.
Awesome.
Is this your first podcast? Your first rodeo? Or
It is not. No.
Cool.
okay.
Been on different types for different reasons.
Well, we're definitely going to get to know you very well in our in-game chat, so stay tuned for that. We'll get into the deep dive of what exactly you've done, because you've done some pretty nifty stuff here. So before we get into the news, though, guys, if you are new to the show, welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. We are the podcast that discuss the latest gaming news each and every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time. If you want to support us, you can head on over to your favorite streaming service, Apple, Spotify, or by going to thegamingduopod.com and leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. You can also support us by going on to social media and following us at the Gaming Duo Podcast.
Going now.
Awesome.
Thank you, John. You guys do that too, please.
Yes,
Follow John
please.
too.
Follow John there. So let's get into the news, because we have a lot to talk about. Biggest news here. We're gonna have a really kind of like a really condensed news week, but thank you, Sony and Santa Monica, for having this release date here. We have God of War release date. We have a confirmation for God of War Ragnarok, which is slated to release November 9th of this year. Sony also released a CGI trailer called Father and Son, setting the tone for what to expect this year. Sony and Santa Monica also revealed special editions for both PS4 and PS5. You can also check that out on the PlayStation blog for more details. Guys, God of War is among us. What are your thoughts? John?
Goosebumps. He's back.
Boy.
It seems like he came a few months ago, actually, and landed in Eastern Europe. But,
so what's your background with Sony? What's your background with God of War?
So I played God of War on PlayStation, I think when the first one came out, when I was in college. And I had a PlayStation, but I haven't played the newer ones because I prefer it on console, and I haven't had a console.
Gotcha.
So I've been doing more like PC and tabletop gaming since then. But I think the games are rad, and just the way technology is going, they only get more and more amazing.
For sure.
And I think that the duo is interesting, and I like the pot-bellied Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of the Marvel Thor coming up with his potbelly, and I'm really looking forward to the God like, what is it, a Rock and Thunder movie? So I think this will be a summer of
Love and Thunder.
Thor.
That comes out this week, right?
Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it came out actually today. It's out today. You can go watch
it.
Yeah, you can go watch it. I got an invite to watch it tonight, but didn't because I had plans with you guys.
Gotcha.
But,
well, I appreciate you staying by.
Oh my God, that is today. Ooh, I suddenly have evening plans.
All right,
there you go.
I'm just kidding.
Well, let's make this quick, guys.
Let's hurry up this podcast so we can buy some tickets.
Rob, what do you think? Are you surprised that this is released or this is coming out this year? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked that it came out this year. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people are, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's already July, we're midway, and you didn't have a release date, I'm like, it's getting pushed to 2024.
Yeah.
The fact that we get it in 4 months, right?
Oh, 2024. You thought 2024?
I thought, sorry, 2023. That's what
Oh, okay. Jeez, I'm like, damn. I don't think they need that much.
Too far ahead here. Yeah. But I think it's nuts. I think it's crazy that they're just like, all right, yep, we're done with it. It's coming out. Have fun.
It's crazy. They pulled like they did it. You know what I mean? Like they stuck with the date. I mean, they kind of delayed the game at some point. So 2022 was supposed to be the year of God of War, and they actually stuck by it. I'm surprised that they actually did it, and I'm more shocked that it's coming out in 4 months. You know, it's coming out very soon. It's weird because and John, for those that don't know, I have this thing with the original God of War, not the original, the last one that came out 2018, where I thought it was a fantastic game, but no, I liked it. But I just felt like there was a lot of hype that there was. In my opinion, there should have been a little bit more criticism with what we've got for God of War. And you know, you can check out the previous episodes for that. But basically, to kind of encompass everything here, I love the game. It just, I felt like there was a lot of things that were missing from the previous God of Wars. As far as like the main boss fights, I feel like they were lacking. The enemies were kind of lacking. They felt very similar.
There wasn't much variation.
Is not quite there. Everything else, the story, the way they developed the characters and the gameplay, the relationship between Atreus and Kratos, I thought was phenomenal. So I'm hoping that the criticisms that I had from the previous one will be addressed in this one.
Yeah. My love of mythology has only been going up and up. So this is making me want to go back through and, like, you know, for educational reasons.
For sure.
Oh yeah, for educational. Yeah.
Yeah, for educational reasons.
It's available for PC. I know you said you're a PC guy now, on the move. So download it for.
Yeah, that is interesting to check out. It reminds me too of the I forget what it was called, but the Star Wars game that had a lot of variety of like different kinds of encounters and play styles and things like that. I wonder if things are moving more in that direction with like enemy variety and encounter variety and things like that. It was kind of like a adventure, but like shooter.
I would love.
What
were you saying?
I also feel like because of the cyberpunk,
I would say I would love for them to bring back the whatchamacallit, like mix some of the Greek in there too.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you want them to combine the Greek and the Norse mythology?
Yeah, if somehow the Greek mythology just like came out of nowhere and then they kind of like mixed the two, where like somehow Zeus is back. That would be what I think really would be cool.
I have an idea for like an MMO where you just take all the different like mythologies, like Egyptian and like Norse and Greek and stuff, and then it's like an MMO, and based on what powerful your faction is or how much like power they have, like the mythology gets stronger, so you can like cast stronger spells or summon like stronger spiritual things, because like the faith of that like god is stronger, and kind of like their strength is based on how much you believe in them.
Interesting.
And then, you know, as somebody starts to snowball, everybody else teams up on them. That seems like a kind of fun dynamic.
That concept could work. That concept could very well work. That's pretty cool.
I'm excited for this game so much. I'm so ready.
What do you expect from this game? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what do you think we're gonna get from the next installment of God of War Ragnarok? Rob, I'll start you off.
It's gonna be obviously bigger than the first game. They're gonna open up the world quite a bit. I think the first one felt a little limited as to where you can go, and but you're gonna actually be able to go to all the different realms pretty easily, and they're gonna be fleshed out. It's not gonna be so linear as the first one was, and I think here's my thought. The first one, they were kind of treading lightly because it was uncharted territory. It was a new concept for them, right? It's different from the old God of Wars, 1, 2, 3, the ones for the older consoles. They were kind of like testing the waters, so they played it safe, right? Now that they know that was successful and everyone loved it, they're like, all right, open the floodgates, we're going ham with this thing. And I truly think this game is going to exceed the first game, and I would say even the previous God of Wars. This is probably going to be the best God of War we've ever had.
Wow, bold statement there.
Yeah.
So just to remind you though, that they did dabble with the open world concept a little bit. There were open areas in the game that weren't quite fully open world, but they had a good grasp of like you can kind of go wherever you want, sort of.
Right, but I think this is just going to expand on it even more.
So you think it's going to expand on that? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
John, what do you think?
I wonder how much Elden Ring could have influenced this, because that, as we all know, is enormously impactful.
Yes.
Out of new releases. But the thing is, these things take so long to develop. I don't know like how much communication or watching or being aware of like what everybody else is doing. But like I think now, especially if this God of War is also successful and has the open world, that could be more of a trend that we see. And then also because of Cyberpunk's like epic flop on launch, I think that and that's a pretty open world game. But I think that we're gonna see better launches now, because that lost so many like hundreds of millions of dollars that, just because they botched a launch, that they maybe could have waited like 1 or 2 more months and not mess that up so bad. So I think that probably terrifies all the other studios.
100%.
So I think that's like a landmark milestone for the gaming industry, in my opinion, because that was like, one of the most hailed games and the most developed games of all time. And how badly that launched. I think that we should expect, something a lot cleaner with this.
You nailed it. Yeah, 100%. I think that every developer now is kind of aware of what Cyberpunk has kind of caused, and now they tread very lightly if they're trying to release a game, knowing how like the way it's already made. They might want to delay it a little bit depending on how much bugs there are or things like that. So I have no fear in Santa Monica doing that, because I know they're top tier and they develop games like pretty spot on. So as far as the story goes, I kind of want to dive into what we can expect with the story. I think so. Essentially, the original one, the 2018 one, it was Kratos, and we know the story behind the game where they were gonna take his wife's ashes to top of the mountain, layman's terms here, but this was also a journey with Kratos and Atreus, just kind of like bonding or trying to get to father and son, like communication, I guess, if that makes sense. Like they were just trying, like Kratos was just trying to understand his son and trying to let down a lot of guard, right? Because he's always been this angry person that's always just trying to kill things, and now he has a human next to him, a son that he has to like take care of and actually like teach and guide. And I think with this one, it's going to be a little bit different, where Atreus is older, right? I don't know how long from the first one this takes place, but Atreus is older. He's wiser. He knows a lot based off of the first game. So it's gonna be more of probably Atreus, like learning more about Atreus and understanding his aspect and his mindset of like what he sees and what he's doing and why he's doing what he's doing. So I'm very interested to see what take they bring to us here. If it's gonna be more Kratos' side, if it's gonna be more Atreus' side, you know what I mean?
I think Atreus, the last one was a kid, right? He's a kid and he kind of felt like just like a sidekick. Whereas in this game, he's going to be more of a focal point of the story. He might actually be more of a focal point. It might transition to more on Atreus' point of view versus Kratos' point of view. You might even actually get to play as Atreus at one point. I'm getting a lot of like kind of like Last of Us vibes almost, right? Where Ellie was kind of like, you were just kind of like protecting her. But now Atreus is also doing the protecting at some point. Like he's got Kratos' back, and it's more of a team versus Atreus is just kind of like the little guy. It's like just tagging along. It's like, no, like this again, like even said trailers, father and son. So I think they're really going to take that team aspect and really flesh out Atreus, and he's going to be his own man. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be like, I don't need you, dad, like kind of deal. So
this takes place 3 years after the 2018 God of War.
Yeah, so he's a teenager. He's a teenager now. So you know how teenagers are, right? They're going to be rebellious, and I'm sure he's going to do a decision where it's going to hurt Kratos at one point, and it's going to be really interesting to see, and I'm excited.
I'm interested to see the dynamic for sure. Like they had a crazy dynamic in the beginning where Kratos didn't really know how to show affection, but now this one we're probably going to see a little bit more of a softer Kratos, maybe more of like a father figure Kratos. But now we're going to see what Atreus is going to be. Like you said, Rob, like he's going to be more kind of like a teenager. He's going to be more reluctant to do things. So
right, we're going to see more of the opposite go, right? Where Kratos is always a hothead, right? It's going to turn where Atreus is going to be starting to get more hot-headed, and Kratos will be more subdued. So it's going to be basically the circle of life, right?
I'm interested to see if they throw in a scene where Atreus needs help, or he's like about to get killed, and Kratos just goes full blown like God of War 3 style. You know what I mean?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Let's go to news number 2 here. We have Forspoken being delayed to 2023, January 24th, 2023 here. So they posted, so Square Enix posted a Twitter post saying that as a result of ongoing discussions with key partners, we have made the strategic decision to move the launch date of Forspoken to January 24th, 2023. All game elements are now complete and development is in its final polish phase. We would like to thank everyone for blah, 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 blah. So yeah, basically, they delayed the game till January 24, 2023. Is this a smart move? Why did they do this? It's a very weird like they kind of like the discussion that they put there is a little different than normal. Usually people are like, hey, we've delayed this game for such and such. This is saying, we made the strategic decision to move the launch date. So what are your thoughts on this, John?
No comment here. I actually did not know about this one.
Okay.
I was living in Ukraine till the war breaking out, so I've been kind of off the radar.
Gotcha.
Until like recently getting stability again.
So this game,
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, so Square Enix is making this game Forspoken. It's what would you say this is? Yeah,
you're a witch, and it's a third person. You get sent to a different realm, and you're in this different realm. And you get powers and you're just sliding around, throwing magic spells. This third person view looks very like, I want to say Platinum Games-ish in a sense. It's not made by Platinum Games, but it has that kind of feel where it's very stylish, and you're just stringing magic attacks together and sliding around and moving around. So it's an interesting concept. It's different from what we've seen before. But sure. The main thing I think we're going to about this is this game, when they first announced the trailer for it last year, it looked very, very buggy. It looked very, very bad. So... Yeah.
I mean, very bad in a sense of like the lip syncing wasn't quite there. It just seemed very jagged. Didn't seem like it was polished enough. Textures were off. This being delayed again, based off of what they posted here, a strategic decision. I think, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it being polished or not. I think it just has to do with, we talked about this in a few episodes ago, where they have so many games coming out. Final Fantasy Reunion is coming out this year. Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 is coming out next year. So I think they're just trying to give this game some space to breathe, because otherwise this game's just going to get gobbled up with the other games that they're working on,
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the best thing they can do for it, honestly. What is your thoughts on games being delayed, John? How do you feel about it?
I mean, it's tricky because, we as gamers want the games now. And so it's really tricky because like I think that sometimes like I want a game so bad I'd be down to have it if it's like a little bit of cosmetic bugs or a few less quests if they add those things later. But then you get the Cyberpunk debacle where like I actually had it on PC and I thought it was pretty fine. Like I thought it was way overblown.
Yeah, same.
I think my game crashed like once ever, and I had like maybe like a couple bugs, and that was it. So I didn't really get what everybody was complaining about, but I guess console is a different story. Yeah. So I think it really just depends. But I don't think I've ever played a game where I was so let down by like it not being polished at launch, except for the I think it was called Aliens Colonial Marines.
Yes.
And that wasn't because it was buggy. That's just because the game was so bad, and they just like hacked it with all the like trailers and stuff to make it seem like this really awesome game. But it was just like, I feel like like 5 people in like 6 months could have made that.
The rug
and I just felt like
under
totally
you,
robbed. Yeah, I was just like,
gotcha.
I played it for like 20 minutes, and I'm just like, oh my god, I just had my money stolen. I think Steam started issuing refunds after that. Oh my god!
I think that's the reason why. I actually think you're right.
I think that is. Yeah. I think that is why Steam started issuing refunds.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we know it's hard, right? We know it's hard to what it takes to build a video game, and I'm sure somewhat similar to like how it is to build something, right? And things get difficult, things get technical, and some things may not work out. So there's a lot that goes into especially making a video game.
I mean, running Gametree, like an app that I'll share with you guys later, like. Our app is like so much less sophisticated than games these days, and like even us just delivering like a feature like calling or something is like
the whole thing.
A lot of work. So to imagine what these guys on this scale must be going through is like I can like definitely sympathize with them if they need to delay. It happens, especially in tech. Yeah. There's like a rule of thumb where everything takes 2.5 times longer.
Yes.
Than you think
Oh, for sure.
And even if you account for that, then it just takes another 2.5 times. So it's like inevitable.
Delays are our friend. Delays are our friends. I'm just gonna say that they're our friends.
What was that famous quote? Was it Miyamoto? A delayed game is a rushed game is shit. A delayed game is not shit. Something like that. I think something it was perfect.
Or that, a rushed game is like forever quotes. Or something like that.
Yeah, those were his exact words. Yeah, for sure. You know who's not struggling right now? You know what indie developer is not struggling right now?
Who can?
Hypercharge. Hypercharge is doing phenomenal here. So this game, if you guys haven't heard about, is kind of sweeping the internet right now, especially on Twitter. So why is everyone talking about it? This is news number 3 here. Hypercharge has been out for 2 years now for PC and Switch, which came out back in 2020. But you wouldn't have known because this game has been kind of radio silent up until now. It feels like overnight the game has reached massive attention from news outlets like IGN, GameStop, even Cory Barlog, who we just kind of talked about his game God of War, is talking about it, posting on Twitter, talking about playing it on the Steam Deck. So it's definitely gained a lot of hype so far. So what is it basically, right? So it's indie studio of 5 close friends who started Digital Cyber Cherries back in 2015. It's a third-person first-person shooter with childhood-inspired environments, base building, casting you as an action figure against other action figures in a wave form of enemies. You can buy defense, upgrade to protect your energy stations. It's both online and local co-op, and it's a very positive review so far on Steam, 91%. And it's coming out on Xbox soon and PlayStation to follow. Yes, we hear you.
You're still here.
Okay.
Yep, we didn't lose you.
So I just went through the rundown of Hyperspace. Rob, what do you think of this? We played a little bit actually last night.
So funny story about this game. So there's a free demo on Steam right now that you can download.
Mm-hmm.
And we downloaded it and I played a little bit and I got nauseous
playing the game.
Really? I mean, the colors look like really eccentric.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the monitor I was playing on but just the way you were kind of like jumping, and I think it was a motion blur on it. I want to say it was a motion blur on it. Got me really.
Interesting.
I got nauseated from playing. It was weird. But from what I played, other than being nauseous, I think that's a me thing. I don't think it's a game thing.
I think so too.
It was
or
fun.
your monitor, like you said.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. I had a blast. It's basically like a tower defense kind of thing. You build your little thing. Have you ever played Gears of War, John?
A little bit.
Yeah, so they have a horde mode where like you set up defenses and then you wait for them to come through and you kill the enemies and don't look
I
at
love
your
those
face.
game modes.
Yeah, it was like that but with action figures. So
there was like another game called like Toy Soldiers or Army Men.
Something
it
like
was
that.
A little bit older. But that's what this kind of reminds me of, but like a way better version.
Basically. And I don't know, what'd you think of it, Kel? I had a fun time playing it.
I had a fun time playing it. I'm not like horde mode doesn't really gravitate me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like a huge horde person, but this.
Do you see him there? Can you hear him?
Yeah. What's that?
I can hear you.
Oh, do you see Kelvin?
Yes, I can see you.
I'm here.
Yes.
Oh, somehow I'm gonna refresh because you got
no worries. Yep. It seemed very interesting. Like I thought it was pretty dope. I think what really got my attention was just the way the environments look, the fact that you're an action figure, very different take on playing like a third person / first person shooter. You know what I mean? And it just seems cool. I love the attention that this game is getting right now. Like again, the game was made or released back in 2020, and now all of a sudden it's getting this hype. You know what I mean?
I have a question. So this happened to Among Us as well. Right?
Yeah.
So how does this happen where a game will be out for X amount of years and all of a sudden everyone's just like, all right, let's play this game. Like, how does it blow up like that? Usually with games when they first come out, they kind of tend to blow up right then and there. But for some reason, some games are these unicorns where out of nowhere they get a fan base. I don't know if you could speak something to that, John. Do you know anything about that as far as like ebbs and flows?
Oh, I know how one of them happened. Dungeons and Dragons, Stranger Things. Dungeons and Dragons was always like pretty niche. It was always growing and growing, like creeping up, lurking like the things from Stranger Things. But suddenly that came out and just this nostalgia wave hit, and people saw people playing it and saw that it wasn't Satanism or that even other nerds are pretty fun. And now there's I think something like 30 million people playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
And I would say like literally half of that is just because of that show. It's the #1 show on Netflix right now. So
yeah,
I would assume that like a lot of times it's maybe just like a popular streamer, might pick it up, and then suddenly other streamers or suddenly there's like a swell enough where it takes off. But then you got the case of Warframe where like that thing also launched like really quietly. And I feel like there's like a media blackout. I don't know why. Like maybe they don't like how like indie and progressive the studio is. But yeah, they've just been chipping away and making it better and better. And then just the other day, I was talking to somebody who's playing it, and I've been like curious to get back into it now that they've added so much. And I think
Yeah.
just because they've been working on it for so long and making it better and better, like where maybe before, like I liked it for like a few days, but now like when I get back into it, it'll probably have enough to suck me in for a while.
And that game came out in the PS3 era, right? Like that came out years ago. You know, it's been
Yeah.
in 2 generations of
But
of consoles.
if you look at the Steam charts, it's like silently like one of the top 10 games a lot of the time, but you almost never hear about it on
You
any
never
of these
hear about it.
websites. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
for sure. And that's another game that just it's always being supported. You know, there's always something like surrounding that game. You know what I mean?
And people that play it always go back to it. I know a bunch of people
Yeah.
that play Warframe, and they'll always at one point will just like log in and play it. Again, it's one of those games that really back in somehow. You know,
I think when it comes to like, so Among Us, for example, like you were saying, and like how John was saying, I think Among Us, like he said, it kind of started grabbing a lot of people's attention because like a couple streamers one day picked it up, and you know they're very popular, and so that kind of like stirred the pot there. For this game though, I don't think there was anything that involved streamers that kind of made this popular. I think what happened was they did a pretty darn good marketing campaign where even if you look at their Twitter, right, they kind of essentially they're re-releasing this game in a way because it came out for Switch and it came out for PC. No one really talked about it in 2020, but then now they're kind of like marketing it for Xbox, you know? So Xbox is like their main thing. If you look at their Twitter, it just says, you know, coming to Xbox soon, or you know, sign up for Xbox players. So that's really making people be like, oh, this is like a new Xbox game coming out. Like, that's awesome. The fact that it has online co-op, the fact that it has local co-op, like I think those are things that are really making people like want to try this out. And obviously it looks dope. The environments look sick. I think all that combined is making this game like really like top tier.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if I'll purchase it. I think it's like $20 on Steam. Have you played this game yet, John? Hypercharge?
I haven't, no. I mostly stick to the strategy games and some
I'm
of
not
like the
surprised.
most hyped like AAA games.
Yeah, this is not kind of like in our radar as well, but I tried it out yesterday with Rob, and like we said, it seemed pretty cool. So definitely interested to try it out. We tried the demo, FYI, so we haven't really tried the full-fledged game. So I'm sure there's things that are missing, but from what the demo showed us, there's a lot of customization as far as like, you know, getting different weapons, and even like your characters. There's a lot of cool different characters that you can kind of switch off.
Different
on and
action
off
figures
of.
that you can choose.
Action
It's
figures, yeah.
pretty sick.
Yeah, overall, I'm excited, and I think it's a cool, fresh take on the third person / first person shooter. Guys, we're all done with news for today, for this week. So let's get into the in-game chat where we interview the founder of Gametree, John Uke.
Hey.
So John, where do we start, Rob? Where do we start? There's a lot to dive into here.
Right. Okay. I think first off, you should tell us what is Gametree, and then
All right.
we'll go and say, how did you get into making Gametree? Because we want to let everyone know what it is. So what is Gametree in a nutshell?
For those that don't know.
So I guess I'll combine those and just maybe do it like a story.
Okay. Cool.
So after college, I went from living with a bunch of my best friends, which was awesome, one of the best parts of my life, to moving to a new city where I had a job, and I basically was like the most miserable I've ever been. I would just like go to work, go home, play games online by myself, and then go back to work again. And I felt like I was just like a hamster on a wheel. And I was living in Irvine. I didn't have friends there, and I didn't like know how to find friends there. And I was playing games online with people, but like it's hard to really connect with people online. And
Right.
I'd rather be like, as a kid, I built most of my friendships through gaming, and it was way more fun and meaningful, and you like get to know people. And like in Counter-Strike, you even play on servers and you get to know people. But nowadays, I feel like we're all just kind of AI substitutes more so than like actual people. You know, we're just like you play like Dota or League of Legends or something, and like everybody's just there for the sake of having enemies, not
Tell me
really
about it.
because they're people. And it's just getting like really lonely and toxic and like less fun in some ways, even though the games are better. Like it's like not as fun gaming. So I looked around, and I could only find apps for like helping find gamer friends that basically just like age, sex, and location, like ASL.
Right.
And I, you know, like you guys like are friends because you actually clicked. It's not just because of your age, like, you know. So I thought that I would just make my own app. And so I've been a fan of psychology, but since then, over these years, I've just been diving deeper and deeper, and now it's been like many thousands of hours where we've developed basically the most sophisticated system in the world for matching people. And it not only looks at like a game in common out of like hundreds of thousands of games, but the number and proportion of games in common. So you'll find somebody who likes a lot of the same games as you and is likely to like other games in the future, so you can play a lot of games in common. We also have a personal values test that looks at like, you know, like your morals and what you like and stuff, so you know somebody's like a good person to you, because like you can't be friends with somebody that you don't accept as a good person. Right. So we ask questions about like how okay are you with gay people, like how religious are you, like do you like, how do you feel about fast food, cussing, like all sorts of stuff.
Interesting.
Those are the edgier topics, but then we also have like a personality psychology test that breaks down like how do you perceive the world, like how you intake and respond to information, kind of like a computer function. Like apparently all of us are kind of like that, and there's different order of operations that we all have a natural bias towards because we're like better at stuff or it takes less energy and we're naturally lazy. So you can kind of read a lot about a person based on how they solve problems and how they learn. And it's beautiful because it gets us to like specialize in labor, but it also tells you a lot about, you know, like play or the kinds of work that we do. And the last bit is a gamer DNA model that we made up. It's actually building on a couple layers of other people's shoulders, but essentially we identified 22 different kinds of fun and create kind of like a gamer DNA for you. So for example, competitive players and casual players, like you don't want to mix them a lot of the time because casual players like, fuck you, like you're not even trying hard, like blah, blah. The other one's like, no, fuck you, you're trying too hard, like I'm just trying to have fun. And it's like both of them are just trying to have fun, nobody's wrong. There's just a difference between people. And that's what a lot of the toxicity is apparently, is it's not actually trolling. Like something like 93% of it is actually just miscommunications. And a lot of that comes from like not knowing people and not knowing how people are different. So in the personality test, we also have guides on like, what is this person like? What are they like as a gamer? How would you be friends with someone like this? Why would you want to be friends with them? And if you're someone like this, what's advice for getting along with people who are different from you? Because we all kind of see the world from our own points of view, but we're all like actually like extremely different.
Interesting.
So it's basically almost like a social media slash I don't want to say Tinder. I hate saying that, but in a sense, it makes it easier for you to connect to people in a much easier. It's kind of, you see their profile, like, okay,
it's a lot like Tinder. I think Tinder doesn't really try to connect people. They treat it more like gambling or like an addiction, or they just want you to spend as much time as possible, the way they design it. We actually give the best matches first. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's kind of like a matching app. And then kind of we've added social network features because people want more social features. It wasn't part of the roadmap. And then now we're going more into like on-demand game sessions. So we found that people like actually, you know, you've played games with people, but you don't know like what they're playing now or when they're free or who wants to play what. And so a lot of people just play alone anyways because they don't want to deal with the coordination, or it's like awkward to reach out. So now you can just click a button and just join a live game session. And it's like you're just in a voice call with everybody. And later on, we'll be doing more and more curation. So we'll kind of like curate the groups deeper as well with that. So it's a way to play with like more friendly, cooperative, less toxic people whenever you want to play, or you could just be hanging out and chatting or whatever.
Now, does the app kind of structure, like, so let's say you find you're matched with somebody and you kind of grow this bond and for like, you know, the first 4 or 5, 6 months, but you know, people change, gameplay styles change. Does the app kind of, I guess, track different, you know, gameplay sessions or something like that kind of changes the perspectives?
It does and it doesn't. Where, like, for example, if you're like rating games or adding games to your list and stuff, it'll change the kinds of people it's matching you with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And we have done like AI analysis of conversations and see like if people become friends on Facebook or Steam like after they meet in Gametree and stuff. So we take that into consideration when like weighting all the matchmaking going on behind the scenes with all the data that you give on all these questions, so that we can like find out what are correlated questions, so that we can make those like more important in the algorithm and stuff. So we do a lot of things that are like database to just try to get people to match as well as possible. And you can always retake the tests too. So that is another way of doing it. But otherwise, like, we're not actively monitoring and like updating yet. Like, that's something that we could do in the future. Right now, it's about 500,000 people that have signed up, and we're doing like almost no marketing or advertising at all.
Wow.
But with this, and especially for the last year, because It turns out that people download it and then they find friends or they don't, but then they don't need the app anymore. So imagine if Tinder works really well or something, and then people just leave. Yeah, so we do have like a few hundred people signing up every day just because it's good, but it's not innately a viral app. It's not something you like download and like share with everybody. Like you don't go like, hey guys, like find friends with this app, and then like it's kind of weird to tell your other friends that a little bit.
Right.
But it's just the best at what it does. So it's, and the industry's huge, so people have been signing up. And then with this kind of on-demand gameplay sessions feature, that's something that I think is going to really stick. Like the community's voted that they really want that. I talked to one of the owners of OG that won the Dota biggest tournament a couple of times, and he's like, yeah, if you could do that for Dota, like that would be enormous. And so this thing should be coming out in the next like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Wow. And it's something I've been very excited for because it's taken a long time to build, to have to like re-engineer the app to launch super quickly. And we also just got approved for a grant to basically convert it to be a desktop app as well.
Just gonna ask that.
It'll be kind of like this.
That's
yeah.
So right there.
Imagine like Discord, but like you can still see all the like overlays and the transparency and stuff, but like you don't have to like chat and then like get somebody's name and then add them and then create a server and add them, they have to join and then empty and then you have to delete the server. Right. And so it's just like so many steps. Whereas this, it's gonna be like you literally just click a button and you're in the call, and then you don't even have to have an account, and you can click a button and like a Google Meets and just join the call. So it's going to be just like the simplest, easiest way for gamers to connect.
That's awesome, dude. Like I love that. I love that. The fact that you have this like, you have this idea and you kind of put it in motion, and now this is an app that people can physically use to help kind of build their gaming experience. Even like you said, there's a lot of people that do this as a hobby. There's a lot of people that do this to escape, and they don't have a lot of friends outside of the gaming world. So this is something that can kind of bring those people together and potentially find someone that they can bond with.
One of the most requested features too is more ways to match by. So for example, like if you like rock climbing or a certain book or like whatever, that's something I'm very much looking forward to as well, because it's so cool. Just the more things you have in common with someone, the more that kindred spirit you can have, that like kind of connection.
100%.
So I'm looking forward to just kind of being able to have like a database of just like everything, like every book, movie, TV show, on top of all the games and all the hobbies and everything. And you could just like put in whatever you want, and then those things will get considered alongside the games. I mean, we do consider a lot alongside the games, with your personality and stuff, but a lot of the times, I'm like reading a book and I'm just like, oh, it'd be cool if I like met somebody who also likes this book. Right. So like that's something that like I'm looking forward to adding after this desktop app is published.
So I do have a question for you. Now there is a dating portion to this as well, right? So say you did want to connect with somebody, right? How does that work in a sense? Is it a little?
Yeah, so we call that, try not to cringe, but it's called Ubu. Ubu dating.
Ubu. Okay,
so that's not bad. I like that.
So we added that originally not because the vision was to make a dating app, but because about a third of the users were using it also as a dating app. And if you're not looking for dating, it's like annoying. But at the same time, we're happy people are connecting, and we don't want to kick off a third of our user base. So the solution was just to make a filter, like a toggle in matching, like friends or dating. And now we have a dating app too.
That's awesome.
So that way, genius. All the people, so people are like using the friend part to date, we can kick them out and just quarantine them to the dating part. But otherwise, like now, like you can kind of do both. So it's actually a dating app too.
That makes sense because, like you said, you get everyone's interests. You're asking like I like the same book, and then you might have someone else the same book, and it's not necessarily about gaming anymore. Now it's about like, well, let's talk about this book. Not right. So
yeah. And actually, my brother's wife's sister, so I guess like my second cousin or something, I don't know exactly how that works, apparently the first week got her boyfriend from the app.
Wow.
So, and I never even met her before, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Already bringing people together. That's fantastic.
Hey, look at you, man.
Dude.
Look at you.
That's awesome. So you say this is, so how many people are in this company? Like how many people are we talking here that are helping?
So it's been a roller coaster. Like right before COVID, we were pretty strong. I came back from living in Ukraine to do a fundraising round in California, and then it was going really well, like for like a week, and then the world's biggest gaming news network, Enthusiast Gaming, wanted to buy it. And instead I kind of started talking to a partnership that they pulled out of, and it screwed us because COVID had hit, deals were falling through, and they had they basically just put us in a really hard spot. So like even though the signups went up, we basically like ran out of money when we were supposed to be finishing an investment round, and I hadn't been following up with investors. So now we've been kind of like crawling back to the point where we're about to launch that calling stuff. That's like been a really big development for us, and the team's been kind of pulling back together, so the momentum's been building back up. But that was like a big kind of like knockdown blow. But I think COVID was hard for a lot of people, but I think as a gaming company, even though it was really good for us, it was also really hard for us.
Right.
What was the original question?
How many are we talking? 2, 3, 4? How many people
Oh,
are on
yeah.
your team?
So there's 2 developers, and myself, and then my fiance is helping out as well now. And we also have a marketer who we had somebody part-time, but I just swapped for someone full-time to join us because they were helping out like very part-time. Most people have like other jobs and stuff, but now we're kind of pulling together back into like a more organized full-time team, ready to kind of like blow this up now that this thing that we've been kind of like sitting on our hands for is coming out. So the plan is basically to, now that this is out, we'll see how it gets received, but I expect it should, like, even if it's not everybody using it, there should probably be a good portion of people that like it and stick. We also have gamification badges, things like that. So a lot of people, I think, will just kind of get in a habit, and I think that'll start kind of snowballing over time to the point where we can then start playing with it, doing like the more on-demand matchmaking, where right now you can like create a game and you can plan it in advance or like live and people join it, but it would just be a one-click button where it'll just automatically put a group together. Or you can create like, instead of finding like a person that you want to be friends with, find like a gamer group that's kind of like missing somebody with your personality that would kind of like add a lot of like texture to the group. Because something kind of interesting is that there isn't like a perfect algorithm for like who a best friend is. Like there's a little bit of different biases, but mostly it's actually groups or little tribes, and you don't want to have the same role as somebody else because then you have like a competitor for like you being yourself. So you actually, like if you usually see kind of like the tall kid with like the short kid, or like the chubby one with the skinny one or something. So it turns out like life actually works out that way. So like I want to be able to curate groups like that too, and then also to start curating communities, where that's a trend we're seeing is a lot of people are going towards communities, and there's no good place to discover these communities, and people are coming to Gametree like every day to promote their communities, whether it's like a streamer or like a gaming club or a team or whatever, and we could just scale our individual matchmaking technology to then do groups. So that's something that like I think is a big trend that nobody's supporting, but fits like really nicely into our wheelhouse, where we kind of lead the market in that player matching.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I do see that you have a tabletop option for this as well. So if you wanted to get someone to play Dungeons and Dragons with you, that could be a thing. Like in real life, that's such a hard thing to come out and say to someone that like, oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons, because like you said, it's kind of, not that it's cool now because of Stranger Things, but it's still a little bit of a stigma to come out and say.
In high school, it was a pain getting friends to try to play.
Right.
But now, it's becoming a lot, I guess, like cooler, to the point where I often hear like, oh, I've always wanted to play, I just don't know anybody to play with. And so I think there's a lot of people that are kind of like sleeper nerds that just are waiting to be woken.
Yeah.
And they have to cross paths with somebody who like tells them that, which doesn't usually come up, because D&D people don't want to like explain D&D to everybody all the time. Because there's nothing else like it, or at least that category of games. So it is kind of a secret dream of mine to like work with one of the major RPG studios like Paizo or Wizards of the Coast or something to
that would be so sick.
Get like at scale, like making it better, because so much of it is based on who you play with. Like it just, it can make it like not fun or like the best thing ever based on who you play with. And I think that we're like kind of in that sort of field, so it could really just get a lot of people into the nerd life. And I think that that's like one of the good gateway things.
I love that, man. I love that. I think this is a great app. You're doing a phenomenal job. I really appreciate that. You're kind of putting in your little like slice of like what you build into the gaming industry, and I think that's really dope, man. I think it's really dope.
It's kind of like one of those things where you just feel pain, and then you just solve the pain if nobody else is like. And my own like psychology is someone who's like, I over engineer like logical systems to like get emotional connection with the tribe. So that's like kind of my insecurity and like my strength. So
Mhm.
I didn't know that when I started all this, but then looking backwards, I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like I'm just like filling the void in the universe that somebody like me feels the most pain from. So like it's just like how the world works.
Forgive me for asking if you already said this, but how long did it take you to build this app? Did you mention that already? No, I don't think you
So
did.
I built the first like MVP and then scrapped that as like a prototype, moved to Ukraine, built up a team, we built up another one. But that one I was only like a little bit involved with, like programming.
Mhm.
And I taught myself to code to kind of like on this journey. And then we released the first version where we basically just give you one match per day because I thought it was this clever way to like get around the fact that like we didn't have users, you know?
Right.
And it started off in Ukraine. And then it just started to become a little bit more popular as we just learned and iterated. We made it so you can match with a few people per day. So you don't just run out of matches immediately, but over time it just became more popular. And in Ukraine, we were lucky because it's a lot easier to like give a talk at a conference or have a trade show at a booth or to like advertise. Like the cost of acquisition is like way lower than San Francisco where I was before. And then just as the app got better, it just naturally started to spread around the world without us even doing anything. And now it's like been translated, I think, like 8 or 9 languages by the community.
Wow.
And we get a lot of like evangelists and moderators and stuff just because like our relationships are one of the most important thing in the world.
Mhm.
And we get like such crazy like tear jerkers of people like just saying like, oh, you know, like I never thought my life could be this good, but like I met like the love of my life and I have friends now and like thank you, like blah blah blah. And it's just like, whoa. So because of that, like it's not like Kleenex where you're just making like a better toilet paper or something. It's like
Right.
like, you know, it's really changing some people's lives. So because of that, a lot of people, even though it's not naturally a viral app, we still get a lot of people like asking how they can help and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, awesome.
So I actually downloaded it, and I have a question for you about the leveling system. Looks like you can level up in this. So talk to me about leveling up here. How do you
I
level
love
up?
leveling up.
And I know
Just don't
you're
ask me
talking
for extra experience points.
Yeah.
well, you were talking about how like once someone like downloads it and finds their friend, their group, then they kind of like don't use it anymore, right? Well, I see this leveling up. I'm like, oh, this would keep me inclined to stay. Like, how do I level up? Tell me. How do I do it?
So the gamification did increase our metrics by about 30% when we added that. But essentially, it's like, I mean, one, it's kind of fun to have some direction and just also like do stuff. For example, I wanted to design a system that gives you rewards, but doesn't like block you from features. And I wanted to give you rewards that are either just purely aesthetic or only make sense to give to people who have proven themselves from like a logical point of view. So for example, one of the things, like the lowest level one is you can't change your like location that you search from until you reach like level like from 0 to 1. And you get that easily just by doing the onboarding. But that prevents people that could be like stalkers or like creeps or searching in places they don't actually live, or it could just be weird.
Right.
So that's just like a really simple like kind of reward that happens like early on. And so it's kind of like just gives you different sorts of like aesthetic or cosmetic options or little kind of like perks and boosts. You get rewards from either like doing the onboarding stuff to kind of encourage people to fill out their profiles, and the more data there is, the better the matches are. And then we also have like achievements and badges, and I try to design these in a way that really brings people together. So for example, we have one for like making friends with different personality types or making friends with people from different countries. So you can actually get different tiers of this badge from like finding people from other countries. So we're kind of incentivizing people to like connect and stuff. Then the last and the main way is for like ongoing to get to the higher levels is through game sessions. Because if you join a game session, like the longer the session, the more players there are, the more experience points you get. It falls off. So after like a couple hours and 4 players, there isn't like much of a difference.
Okay.
To like prevent people from just like, you know, like breaking the system. But now with the calling that we're adding and like group chats and having it be able to just like be like almost like a Discord server, and just makes everything easier. Because before I used to have like a commenting system and say like, what's your Discord name? And then like, it was really awkward and like people wouldn't show up a lot. But now that it just automatically calls everybody when the session starts, or you like join and just automatically joins you in a call. It just makes it like the easiest thing that exists. So I expect that that will kind of especially double down as like kind of a bigger thing, and people will actually even possibly want to like, instead of coordinating things like in real life with the best friend, they might say like, hey, let's do a Gametree session. So one, like they get experience points and they're getting more like clout and stuff. And then two, it also is kind of like a record of their gameplay. So you can kind of scroll through and it's almost like a memory lane. Or if you ever want to find people you played with before, and or you have like a chat history and chat log with them, it's kind of an easier way. And then also we have like really good profiles. Okay. So you can see like all the games you have in common with somebody, all the games they like, you could read about their personality and stuff. Whereas Discord, like I have like probably like, I don't know, well over 100 people in my Discord that I don't even remember anything about them, or same with Steam.
Right.
Whereas with Gametree, like, you know, you could see that like Steam just deletes your chat log. I don't know why they do that.
Right.
But like, it's really annoying. But like, yeah, so I think Gametree serves as a good complement to these things.
For sure.
If anything, it makes it easier because it's trying to combine these things into one place.
Yeah.
So that
and now that we'll have a desktop app, we can even start launching games or even like automatically crediting you for playing with people. If it just detects you're in the same game or something, like it'll be interesting what's possible.
Yeah, guys, check out Gametree. This is a phenomenal app. I'm playing with it right now, and it's very intuitive. It's very easy to use. It seems so just kind of like a breath of fresh air in a sense, because like everything is so clean. You know what I mean? And it kind of makes you feel like, yeah, I'm part of not an experiment. I'm part of like a community in a sense, right? But like the fact that you have these achievements, the fact that you have these like leveling up systems, like those are really cool, insightful things that people would want to have, obviously, because gamers love to track their stats, right? And this is obviously a genius way to do that in a way
show off that,
and
like,
to
show off like,
right?
hey, these are my stats, like hard, like it's a very smart app. I love it. It's really cool.
So with the grant we just got, when we had the desktop version, we'll actually be able to talk to games and actually pull out like your achievements, like the score you just got, what people like are saying, and actually like integrate and customize it to individual games.
Fantastic.
So if this goes well, we could actually kind of start integrating deeper and deeper into the games themselves. And we could even like, for example, be like watching, like learning your play style, or based on how you're hanging out and playing with people, we could actually like, you know, over time actually start like learning without you even having to input data. And like you were saying before, like, does it learn over time? Like we could actually be like, oh, like here's somebody you might like, and then just like find you like a really awesome person. We also have a game recommendation AI that's actually like really, really accurate, because nobody's actually really trying and nobody has that much data, because most of the world is these little silos where like, you know, Steam only has Steam data and like EA only has like Origin stuff, where we actually have an AI that's about 93% accurate at predicting ratings for hundreds of thousands of games. Wow. The app isn't known for that, but it's something that we built because we wanted to, once we have all this data, we're like, oh, we can then start curating other stuff. So eventually it could be kind of like your portal to the gaming world, where you get like a personalized news feed, like personalized game recommendations. You see events that you'd love to know about, but otherwise like maybe not know about. So to kind of have like a hub. And then lastly, to go into the social network space, because people are already finding friends on the app, but then there's not like, you know, all the infrastructure. But once you solve that chicken and egg problem, which you kind of naturally already solve by being that kind of a tool, I think that gives us a good shot at actually being a successful gamer social network, which is like otherwise always like an impossible challenge.
John, can you imagine? So I know you kind of like explained what to expect for this in the near future and what goals you have in mind for the app. But can you just imagine if you had this app, there was a hub on PlayStation, on the PlayStation, like there was an app for PlayStation on this, or there was a hub for Xbox, like you can actually integrate that into the PlayStation system, into the Xbox system. So now you have all these stats that you've kind of collected over the years, and you're able to kind of have like this social link with other people that are already on your friends list. Like I think that'd be phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, well, my biggest vision is, you just nailed it, is like sort of like a login or sync with Gametree, where you can just unite. So because like I have friends on Blizzard, but then they're not on like Epic Games that aren't on Steam, and it's so annoying that you have to like find all your friends again, and all your shit's quarantined. And it's like so like BS. There needs to be some sort of like air or water between all these islands. And we're an independent, neutral company. We're also a public benefit corporation, and we have like a lot of trust. We like aren't like biased by like, you know, preferring one console or one game or something. So I think there is a shot that we might be able to get to that position.
Oh, 100%.
And it was building towards that with the partnership that we were working on before that kind of like knocked us down. But shortly after that, a lot of the big gaming studios were actually interested in doing an investment round together. But they wanted us to be at 1 million users, and we're at 500,000 now before it's like, interesting to them, because those companies, billions and billions of dollars, and we're just little guys.
Yeah,
but they want to take us seriously because they like what we have. Like the head of mergers and acquisitions of Ubisoft said like, oh, this, like, I see this kind of thing like 2 or 3 times every year for the last 14 years, and this is the most interesting version of it I've ever seen. And so if we can kind of like keep it going a bit longer, like maybe we actually can get this done.
Dude, I can see that. So. Yeah, I can see that really being a major hit, especially like I said, if you incorporate that into Sony's UI system, Xbox UI system, like that would be really fun and really engaging for the audience for sure.
And the biggest thing is too is what you're doing is you're solving a problem.
Right.
You're solving a problem, right? The problem is it's very hard to get in touch with gamers, right? Gone are the days where you get online and you want to talk to someone. Half the time people don't put their mics on anymore because they're just like, nope, I got my friends on Discord, I don't care.
A lot of people just immediately mute everybody, and that's like the first thing they do when they don't.
That's what we do.
But back in the day, back when the Xbox 360 days, or you had your little piece of crap like little thing, right? That you would want to talk to people, right? And that's how you would meet your friends. But now in the world where communication is so easy, it's like I just want to stay in my own world, where now having this, it's all centralized and easy. And now I don't have to go to every single platform. Be like, what's your name on Switch? What's your name on Discord?
Like you can literally put all of your usernames on all the platforms in your profile.
I'm looking at it right now, but I think where is it? I just had it. Where is it?
Yeah, it's really, to me, comes down to curation, where it's like you don't need an app that much. If like, I mean, it helps to know people are also interested in being social, which isn't something that exists in the games really.
There it is, right there. All his stuff is right there. Paco's Tacos.
Yeah.
Sorry if you get a bunch of ads right now.
Yeah.
I think you have something here, man. I think I can definitely see this being the future of like how people socialize and how people kind of like engage with one another. I mean, we have things like this, right? We have things like Discord, we have things like Riverside and stuff like that to kind of communicate and bring people together. But this is taking it a step further and actually kind of bringing your personal interests and your personal lives into the matter. And like you said, it's a dating app too, so you can kind of have like it kind of, you can have your cake and eat it too. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wish my girlfriend would play games with me. Right. Well, maybe.
There you go.
There you go.
One thing to be careful of is, we do actually have a pretty good ratio of women to men relative to most gaming community, and actually like the women are very active like on it weirdly. But what I want to like put as a disclaimer is that, like, so far as like the like kind of math is showing, is that you don't want to date someone who's exactly like you. So different games. Oh, did I lose you guys?
Kind of breaking out there.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
We'll be back.
No. I think he skedaddled here. Oh,
no,
there he is. He's back.
There he is.
Hey, yeah.
You're good.
So a disclaimer. Yeah, disclaimer with dating is you usually don't want to date somebody with your same gaming tastes, because usually you want somebody who's like synergistic with you, not the same. So it might be like a good friendship, but a lot of like that is kind of the fire. And on certain games that deliver like a wide variety of aesthetics, like based on like the gamer DNA model, for example, you could play a game, and a lot of the best games deliver different kinds of things. Like they have self-expression and like role play and then like challenge and stuff. And you can like Dungeons and Dragons, like you can have people who play it for very, very, very different reasons. But most games have a lot narrower band. And if like a couple like the same game for the same reasons, like they're probably gonna in life just kind of like, not have a good division of labor. Like they're both gonna kind of want to do the same things and not want to do the other same things. But life kind of often requires doing a bunch of different stuff. So that's just a little disclaimer, is like to be mindful of with that.
Awesome. John, thank you so much for sharing this with us. This is a phenomenal app. You should be very proud of your team.
Seriously.
And definitely, guys, if you guys want to check it out, Gametree, it's definitely a fantastic app. I recommend it. I think it's phenomenal what he's doing. John, where can people find you?
I mean, My name's Johen. Last name's Uke. So I'm pretty easy to just find like on LinkedIn, like Google, Facebook, whatever. Then also Gametree has like every person who signs up automatically gets matched with like an admin, and I'm one of the admins. So there'll always be a real point of contact.
So
just,
you're
first
like
sitting in
Tom from
messages.
MySpace.
Shh.
You're like the Tom from
Genius.
MySpace. You're oh wow.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't do
Holy
everybody
crap.
though.
You're onto something,
But
man.
we have a lot of
Oh, okay.
volunteers that kind of
Okay.
help out. But yeah, so there'll be a real person. We have some automated messages, but like I think that's one of the things that surprises people is they're like, "Whoa, like, you're a real person," or they'll like start like cussing at us, and I'll be like, "Are you trying to get banned?" And they'll be like, "Oh my god, sorry, I didn't know you're real."
Sorry.
Yeah. We actually do
That's
meme
awesome.
contests sometimes.
That's amazing.
Like community meme contests.
cool.
That's one of the badges. The only way you can get this badge is by winning a meme contest. So we did like when the new PlayStation released, and like one person had like a couple like Xboxes, and there was a plane flying, and it looked like the Twin Towers. And there was one that
Jesus
was actually
Christ.
like really
man.
on point with the culture, and I don't know how they know this because like it's something we know internally in the company because it's kind of a joke, but like people always ask us if you're a bot. And so somebody actually like made a cartoon where it's like somebody like getting asked are you a bot, and they're so angry that they smash their computer, and then there's like a robot that they replace themselves with a robot and says, "Are you a bot?" And, I just thought it was
my
interesting that a user actually did that, and I'm like, whoa.
That's cool. That's cool. Engaging with the audience. I love that. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. John, appreciate your feedback, all your information here. Thank you again for sharing your app with us. If you guys want to check us out, again, you can check us out at thegamingduopod.com. Check us out on social media. Rob, do you have anything else to close?
No, I'm gonna tell everyone seriously go download this app right now. I was again playing around with it while we're on the call here, and it's slick. It's definitely something I haven't played with before.
Tried
in a
out
sense.
before.
Like it's definitely a different experience. And I'm like I said, after this call, I'm definitely gonna go play around in there some more. So the fact that I'm interested and intrigued, and again, that's not even saying with you being on the call, John, right? Like this is I'm actually intrigued by this app. So you're gonna start seeing my user, and I'm gonna start leveling up and stuff like that. I'm gonna beat Kelvin. So in levels. Yeah. So,
All right, I guess
that's all I got.
This is a
battle
battle.
game tree.
Dope. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, catch you guys later.
Pleasure.
See ya.
Fun hanging out with you guys. Ciao, ciao.